The mountain air was sharp and cold, but her hand in mine burned warmer than any fire. Dawn had not yet broken, yet the silence carried a promise, the kind that makes your chest tighten with both fear and anticipation. We were alone above the clouds, waiting for the sun to rise. And in that stillness, with her beside me, I knew this morning would be more than just another day. The night had been long, and the mountain had tested us with its chill. Even with 2 sleeping bags zipped together, the cold crept in through the seams of the tent, finding its way to our bones. Yet when I opened my eyes to the pale glow creeping along the horizon, none of that mattered anymore. The world outside was shifting, trading its cloak of darkness for the first fragile hints of the dawn. I nudged her gently, whispering that it was time. She groaned, pulling the hood of her jacket tighter around her face, but when I said, "You don't want to miss this," she stirred. Moments later, we crawled out of the tent, boots crunching against frosted grass, our breath rising in quick clouds against the thin, icy air. The view hit us instantly. Below, valleys stretched into a sea of the mist, soft and endless, like the earth itself had exhaled during the night. The peaks of neighboring mountains floated above the fog like islands adrift in a silver ocean. And above it all, the sky was still a canvas of deep indigo, waiting for the brushstroke of the sun. We wrapped a blanket around our shoulders, pulling it tight as we sat close together on a flat rock near the edge of the ridge. The air smelled of pine and stone, raw and unfiltered, with just a faint sweetness of morning dew. The silence was overwhelming, yet it wasn't empty. It was alive, filled with the rustle of trees down the slope, the occasional crack of ice melting, the distant cry of a bird waking somewhere unseen. I glanced at her, and the firelight from the night before had been replaced by something gentler. Her face was calm, bathed in the soft pre-dawn light, her eyes reflecting both exhaustion and anticipation. She caught me staring and smiled, small but enough to send a wave through me stronger than the mountain wind. It struck me then how rare this was. Not the view, not the sunrise, but the stillness. Back home, life pressed on us from all directions, schedules, responsibilities, noise. Up here above the clouds, time seemed to bend. There was no hurry, no past, no future. Just 2 people waiting for the sun, with the whole world below us asleep. And in that moment, with the blanket pulling us close and the mountain keeping us hidden, I knew the stage was set. The sunrise was coming, yes, but something else was rising too, deep inside me, impossible to hold back much longer. I tried to tell myself that it was just another morning, just another sunrise like the ones captured in countless photographs, just another moment that would fade once the day began. But no matter how hard I tried, my body betrayed me. My chest was tight, my palms damp, my heartbeat louder than the distant calls of the waking birds. She leaned into me, her head resting lightly against my shoulder, and suddenly the cold didn't matter anymore. I could feel the warmth of her seeping through layers of fabric, more powerful than the blanket that wrapped us both. Every small movement, her hair brushing my cheek, her hand shifting beneath the cover, the rhythm of her breath, struck me harder than the sharp wind cutting across the ridge. I wanted to speak, to fill the silence with something clever, something safe. But words stuck in my throat. What could I say that wouldn't shatter this fragile balance? The truth was too heavy, that I'd thought about this moment for longer than I should have, that her nearness felt less like coincidence and more like destiny. So instead, I sat still, pretending to watch the horizon, though all I could truly see was her reflection in my mind, the way she laughed at my clumsy jokes, the way her eyes softened when she caught me looking, the way she had trusted me enough to come here, to climb into the cold just to share this piece of the world. Every nerve in my body was alive, humming with an energy I couldn't contain. It wasn't the wild recklessness of youth, not exactly. It was sharper, clearer. A sense that something inevitable was drawing closer. The mountain air seemed charged, the mist below shifting as if stirred by our own rising tension. Her fingers brushed mine under the blanket. At first it was light, almost accidental, but when neither of us pulled away, the air changed. My breath caught, and she turned her face slightly, her cheek brushing against my jaw. The contact was fleeting, but it was enough to send sparks racing through me. In that instant, I realized the sunrise wasn't the only thing I was waiting for. What I longed for wasn't in the sky, but right here beside me. And no matter how hard I tried to steady myself, the truth was undeniable. I didn't want the sun to rise for the world. I wanted it to rise for us. And maybe, just maybe, she felt the same. The horizon was beginning to glow, faint streaks of orange bleeding into the deep indigo sky. The mist below shifted restlessly, curling and breaking apart as though it, too, was waiting for the sun. The mountain air was sharp, each breath like a blade in my chest, but inside me, the heat built, relentless and undeniable. Her hand didn't leave mine. In fact, her grip tightened ever so slightly, a quiet confirmation that I wasn't alone in the storm. I turned to look at her, and in the half-light, I saw her eyes catch mine. For a long moment, neither of us looked away. It was a gaze that said more than words ever could. Curiosity, hesitation, and something deeper. Something daring. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my breath, but my chest rose and fell too fast, betraying me. My tongue formed half words that never left my lips. Should I? Do you? But the silence was louder than any sentence I could have spoken. The world around us seemed to conspire. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of pine and damp stone. The blanket shifted, loosening, letting the cold bite at our skin, but neither of us moved to fix it. Instead, we leaned closer, shoulder against shoulder, as though the mountain itself pushed us together. Every detail screamed with urgency. The tremor in her breath, the way her lips parted as if she were about to say something but stopped, the pulse I could see in the hollow of her neck. My own pulse answered, quick and wild, like a drum echoing in the thin mountain air. I told myself to wait, to let the sun rise first, to let the world give us permission. But the fire inside me burned hotter with each passing second. The thought of waiting another moment felt unbearable. My hand lifted almost of its own accord, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. She didn't flinch. She didn't pull away. Instead, her eyes closed briefly, a silent surrender, a quiet yes. That was all it took. The blanket slipped further down our shoulders, forgotten. The chill of the air was nothing compared to the heat that surged between us. The mist below swirled wildly, the sky above brightened, and inside me, something snapped loose. The sunrise was close now, but I knew our moment was closer. And the mountain, the sky, the dawn, they all seemed to lean in, waiting for the break. And then it happened. Sudden, inevitable, unstoppable. The moment that had hung between us finally broke, like the first burst of sunlight cutting through the horizon. I leaned in, and so did she. The hesitation that had defined the night vanished in an instant. Her lips met mine, tentative only for the space of a heartbeat before the kiss deepened, fierce and hungry, as though we were both afraid the mountain would swallow the chance if we didn't take it now. The sunrise answered us. A blaze of gold spilled over the horizon, flooding the mist below with fire. The valley lit up, and the peaks around us glowed like molten stone. It felt as though the entire world had chosen this exact moment to ignite, to mirror the storm that had erupted between us. Her hands clutched at my jacket, pulling me closer, and I held her with the kind of desperation that comes from waiting too long. My heart thundered in my chest, every beat a war drum urging me forward. The cold air no longer bit. It only fueled the fire racing through my veins. Every nerve was awake, every muscle alive, every breath a surge of heat and need. We tumbled back onto the blanket, the rock beneath us solid and grounding, even as everything else seemed to spin out of control. I laughed, raw and breathless, because there was no stopping now, no going back. She answered with a gasp, a sound that lit me further, drove me harder, made me want to burn until nothing was left. Above us, the sky was no longer indigo. It was aflame with orange and gold, streaks of light stretching endlessly, unstoppable. I felt the same, unstoppable, untamed, as though the sun itself had poured into my chest. I wasn't careful, I wasn't slow, I was reckless, wild, alive. Every kiss, every touch was a declaration, a promise, a release. The mountain wind whipped around us, the mist below spun in chaos, and the earth beneath us held steady as though it had witnessed 1,000 sunrises like this before. And still, ours mattered. And then, just as the sun fully crested the ridge, the climax surged through me, unstoppable as dawn itself. The release was blinding, overwhelming, leaving me shaking, gasping, laughing at the sheer force of it. The mountain didn't echo my cry, but the valley below seemed to hold it, carry it, honor it. For that single moment, I wasn't just alive. I was infinite. When the storm inside me finally eased, I collapsed back onto the blanket, chest heaving, lungs burning from the thin mountain air. The world felt impossibly still, as though even the wind in the trees had paused to acknowledge what had just happened. My heart was still racing, but slower now, steadier, settling into the rhythm of the morning. She lay beside me. her hair tangled, her cheeks flushed with more than just the cold. She closed her eyes and laughed quietly, a sound that was softer now, warmer, like a secret meant only for me. I turned my head to watch her, and in that moment, with the sunlight spilling across her face, I thought she had never looked more beautiful. Not because of the fire of what we had just shared, but because of the peace that followed it. The sun had fully risen, casting long beams of gold across the valley. The mist that had once cloaked the mountains was breaking apart, dissolving into light. It mirrored how I felt. Unraveled, stripped bare, and somehow freer for it. Everything seemed sharper. The call of a distant bird, the rustle of pine branches, even the sound of our breathing finally slowing together. I wrapped the blanket tighter around us, shielding her from the bite of the wind. She nestled closer, her head resting against my chest, and for a while we simply watched the world wake up. Time stretched, unhurried, as if the mountain itself wanted us to linger in this pocket of stillness. It struck me then how fleeting moments like this really are. Sunrises don't wait, they blaze, they burn, and then they fade into daylight. What mattered wasn't how long it lasted, but that we had been there to see it, to feel it, to live it. And that thought filled me with something deeper than desire, gratitude. I looked down at her, still wrapped in my arms, and whispered words I hadn't planned, words that came as naturally as breath. I don't want this to end. She opened her eyes, met mine, and smiled, not with promises, not with grand declarations, but with something far simpler, understanding. And that was enough. The mountain had, I guess, given us a gift that morning, one we hadn't asked for but desperately needed. The reminder that we were alive, that we were young, that we were capable of both fire and stillness. And as the sun climbed higher, painting the world in brilliance, I realized I would carry that gift long after we packed our bags and left this ridge behind. Looking back now, I realized that what happened on that mountain was more than just passion under a rising sun. It was a lesson, one that the mountain, the dawn, and the silence had been waiting to teach me. The truth is, moments like that don't come often. Life has a way of rushing us forward, burying us under schedules, responsibilities, and noise. We tell ourselves we'll wait for the right time, the perfect chance, the moment when everything aligns. But sunrise doesn't wait. It comes whether we're ready or not. And so do the chances that matter most. That morning taught me that hesitation is the enemy of living fully. I could have sat there, frozen, letting fear keep me quiet, letting doubt hold me back. I could have convinced myself that tomorrow would offer another chance. But the mountain doesn't offer guarantees, neither does life. All it gives is now, and sometimes now is enough. If you're listening to this, maybe you felt that same pull, the quiet hum of something you want but haven't reached for. Maybe it's love, maybe it's truth, maybe it's simply the courage to admit what you feel. Whatever it is, I hope you learn what I learned. Don't wait too long. Desire is not weakness. Longing is not foolishness. These are reminders that you're alive. And when you answer them honestly, when you step into the moment without apology, you discover not only the fire inside you, but also the peace that comes after. The fire and the stillness belong together. One makes the other possible. I'm not saying it's easy. Fear will always whisper in your ear, telling you to hold back, to wait, to stay safe. But the sun will rise anyway. The chance will pass anyway. And if you let it slip, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what might have been. So when your sunrise comes, whether it's on a mountaintop by the ocean or in the quiet of your own heart, don't turn away. Step into it. Let it burn. Let it remind you that you were never meant to simply exist. You were meant to feel, to risk, to live. That is the gift the mountain gave me, and it's the gift I hope you'll take for yourself. And so, the mountain became more than just a place we climbed. It became a witness, a keeper of secrets, a reminder of what it means to be truly alive. The sun had long since risen by the time we packed our things, but its light stayed with me, etched into my memory like fire on stone. Every time I think of that morning, I can still feel the thin air in my lungs, the rough blanket beneath my hands, and the way her smile seemed to rise with the sun itself. The truth is, we don't get many mornings like that in life. Most days blur together, alarms, commutes, tasks, routines, but then there are days that stand apart. Days that brand themselves into your skin, not because they were planned, but because they broke you open and let you see yourself in a new way. That morning was one of those days. And I know, years from now, I'll still remember the way the light cut through the mist, the way hesitation then finally gave way to fire, the way the world felt infinite and intimate all at once. Maybe you're listening now because you're searching for something, an escape, a reminder, a confession that mirrors your own hidden desires. If that's true, let this story stay with you. Let it whisper to you the next time you hesitate, the next time you think you should wait for tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow isn't promised, but sunrise always comes. The only question is whether you'll let yourself rise with it. If this story touched you, let it be more than just a story. Carry it into your own life. Find your mountain, your dawn, your fire. And when you do, don't keep it locked away. Share it, speak it, live it. And if you want to hear more stories like this, confessions told under the stars, beside the sea, or in the quiet of dawn, then stay. This is just one of many. The night has its secrets, the morning has its truths, and I'll be here to share both. So like this video if it moved you. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Your words matter, your confessions matter. And subscribe to Wild Desires if you're ready for more journeys into the wild corners of the human heart. Because the wild doesn't stop calling, the sun doesn't stop rising, and neither should you.